Ladybugs and Yellow Jackets, hello, welcome to Faye Productions. I am Fairy Princess Lolly, and today I am here with author Jessica Lucci. She's going to be doing a read for us. Yes, wave to the camera. She will be doing a read for us here. This is a new thing that we have introduced to the channel. So she is our second author. I'm very excited to have her for the Friday author reads. So Jessica, oh, I guess I should say before we get into it, if you're watching from home, please click the like and subscribe and the share button. And also remember, you can feel free to leave comments and ask questions at any time. We will hopefully be able to get back, go over some of those when the time comes later. But we love your interaction. So Jessica, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Jessica Lucci. I'm in Waltham, Massachusetts, and that's where most of my inspiration comes from for my books. My newest book is called Weird because it is pretty weird. It's my very first middle grade / tween book, so it's appropriate for kids in middle school or for adults too. It's a steampunk sci-fi fantasy. And it's about a little girl, a sprite, and she has many strange, weird adventures because she has some magical powers and a big attitude. So today I'm going to read to you from my first chapter of Weird. And it's called Gorilla. And I can start reading now if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like, so you have a copy of the book. Can you show us what it looks like?
Actually, I don't have a paper copy because it just came out. It's literally just a baby. It's just a few days old. It came out on April Fool's Day. But I do have a copy of April Fool's Day, right? But this
is
called Steampunk Leap Year. Now, this book is a book of short stories. And the way I set it up is that there's one story for each month, and they are thematic. So, for instance, the January story is about the new year. The February story has a Valentine's tie-in to it, and so on and so forth. My favorite one is March, because there's leprechauns, and they're not necessarily nice. And it's just my favorite one. And I wish everybody would read it and tell me if it's their favorite too. So this again is appropriate for middle grade, teenager, and adult. But my favorite thing about all my books is large print, baby. Appreciate that. And also, my first steampunk book is part of a trilogy. This is the first one. It's called Waltham Watch. And when my nephew read it for the first time, because he was so nice enough to be forced to read it, and he told me, Auntie, my eyes aren't tired after I read. And I said, what do you mean? Because this kid was 17 years old at the time. And he said, usually when I read, my eyes get tired. And it's because I think we forget that young people and even adults spend so much time on their screens that our eyes get tired easily. And so the large print, even for him as a teenager reading this book, it helped alleviate those symptoms. So it's not just for old people to have the large print, it's the younger generations too.
Now hold on. I don't know. I take objection to that old thing.
Older, not old.
Oh, I like slightly larger print, but that's because I also read tons of antiquated books where, well, I actually have one right here, like with this super, like
tiny font.
Yeah, super tiny font.
But I'll have to get the magnifying glass out.
Yes. So I don't like the huge print, right? The kind that I actually could set it on a book stand 5 feet away and still be reading it.
Right.
But I like to slightly bigger print. That way I don't have to, have this book so close to my face.
This or do this thing. See, once you turn 40, you'll start doing this thing. Like, what? But
what's happening right now?
Like, is this close enough? It's too far. Do I need reading glasses? But you're not quite there. So this font is perfect for those of us who do not use reading glasses so far. Or
although now that we're talking about it, and it's a steampunk genre book, I sort of want to get like the steampunk goggles. You know how you can get the goggles and they have the two little things that always
yes,
right?
that.
I take a picture reading the book with my steampunk goggles on one eye, right?
That would be perfect. Or like a little monocle. One eye is the reading glasses, and the other
I
eye
don't even know.
Glasses.
How does somebody do that even? Just read with the one eye.
I know. It's I guess we'll have to find out. And so this is another one of my books. It's book 2 in the trilogy. And you can see again the large print. Now this is my favorite book I've written so far.
What is the name of the trilogy?
The trilogy is called the Watch City Trilogy. And the book is called Subton Switch. It takes place in an underwater land called Subton. And I based it on, I based it on Tesla's version of Atlantis. So it's very Jules Verne and just very sci-fi, and there's weird creatures.
That sounds amazing.
I love it. I love it. I got to admit, I love it. It's my favorite. But so all my books are appropriate for all ages. But my new book, Weird, I wrote specifically with the younger generation in mind. And so I was telling my nephew about it the other day, the same nephew, now he's 18 and a half. And he did not get forced to read it yet. But I told him, it's like Captain Underpants meets Diary of a Wimpy Kid meets Magic Tree House meets Little House on the Prairie. And he's like, you had me into Little House on the Prairie. I don't know what that is. And then I got a little sad. But he was with me on the other ones because it's a book that's very strange and weird. And weird, when I wrote it, when I was writing it, when I got the idea for it, I knew I wanted it to be weird. And I didn't have a title. And so it just became weird. And weird is the whole title.
When you say that it is for young adult, the middle school aged folk to read, I hear them in my head reading the description of the book or hearing you describe the book and just going, weird.
Exactly.
So weird.
That's so weird. Oh my gosh. Yes, it is weird. And it's weird in the best ways. So the way I came up with the idea for this book was actually a little bit sad. So I take pride in being weird. It's part of who I am, and I accept it. I was a weird kid, and I'm a weird adult. And I'm cool with that. That's fine with me. And people who love me and know me know that. And that's one of my best traits, I think, is that I am quite completely weird. But somebody called me weird, and they didn't mean it as a compliment. And so my feelings were a little hurt. Like, being weird is a good thing. So I wanted to write this book weird, so all my weird little readers would know it's great to be weird. It's a good thing.
I highly agree. Weird is interesting and cool and anything but boring and normal. So
Absolutely. And I used to want to be normal, and now thank goodness I'm not. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I can't imagine being normal, and I'm so glad I'm not. So anyway, here's the first chapter of Weird. And if you have you ever seen the movie Ponyo? I don't know. It's by Studio Ghibli. And Ponyo is this little girl.
Oh, I think I've heard of it. It's
kind of like The Little Mermaid, but anime style. But anyway, she's a little sprightly girl, and that's who my character Josie reminds me of. So Josie's my main character. So here is chapter 1 called Gorilla, first chapter from Weird by Jessica Lucci. Josie's shadow jumped past the puka tank and into the koi pond. Bubbles of laughter broke the surface as the jeweled school played tag with the shadow and the sprite it accompanied. You'll never catch me, The girl raced through the sun-dappled water, accentuating the freckles that covered her entire sturdy body. Her short hair swirled in the shallow water like a clump of red sedge. One small koi mistook it for such and bolted in giddy surprise when he was thusly tagged. "You're it!" Josie pulled herself over the rock wall. As her mouth met air, she squirted out a perfectly arced stream of pond water. The sparrows in nearby bushes giggled. Wet footprints and splotches of water cooled the dirt path of the zoo. Josie loved all the animals, even the ones who chose to live like humans. A dust cloud crashed into the barefoot girl. She wiped her eyes with the backs of her hands. Sandy granules stuck to her wet form and became instant clay in the high noon sun. Her shadow sought cool refuge beneath footsteps. She squinted through the grime and glare. What commotion caused the dirt's fury? Very small, Josie murmured. Tiny, crumpled, squished up. Small, small me. With each word, her voice became quieter until she ended her spell in a frenzied whisper. Like one of the red-striped sparrows who had been bouncing on bushes, Josie hopped forward soundlessly. What she saw raised her inquisitiveness, if not her suspicion. Dressed in dark overalls with a matching black cap, a laborer of some sort was frantically digging in front of thick metal bars. With a gust of expletives that Josie didn't block her ears from, he swung the shovel like a bat and launched it 20 yards into a dung heap. His orange face glistened with the heat of his work. Josie admired how unlike a raw egg it looked. The man's eyes, shaded beneath the brim of his dark cap, glowed yellow like two burning suns. He turned his body to face the cage and the beast within. Miguela cowered in the coolest corner. Straw covered the largesse of his purple-furred body. His attempt at hiding was non-successful. But what can one expect of a big, dumb gorilla, Josie thought. Her eyes keenly watched from her minuscule inner space. Two large hands like asbestos oven mitts rose and grasped the bars. The man leaned his face into the open space and called to Miguela like a cooing mourning dove. "Peekaboo, purple pal. I did not intend to inflict fear into your dear heart. My desire is simple, but not simple to concede. Your happy freedom is what my soul seeks." Miguela rolled over in the scanty straw and closed his eyes at the stone wall. "Aw, come on, bud. Don't be like that. Listen, I just want to give you a treat. There must be something you'd like special for yourself, isn't there? I wonder what it could be on this hot, lonely, long day that I could share with you. Won't you agree to come on out and be my friend? We can have such fun with whatever little gift I can give you. Whatever you would truly delight in. Think about it, big old you." Miguela's round, fuzzy ears had perked up at the mention of a treat. The more the man talked, the more the gorilla let his mind wander. It wandered through the hot, dusty air, past the blistering sun, to the other side of the earth, to the coldest spot on the planet, covered in snow. Cold with ice. That's it, my grandest friend. How would you like a big bowl of shaved ice with all the colors of sugar syrup the rainbow could invent? The man in black relaxed his jaw. It had been clenched with the effort of ridding the beast's soft mind in its thick skull. He reached chubby orange fingers into deep pockets of denim. From dark emptiness, he retrieved a small sparkling object shining in the sunlight. He pulled a tiny knob, releasing the tiny figure within to twirl. Miguela, entranced by the tinkling music box, stood. The man's eyes glowed yellow again, with fleeting, fiery flecks. He lifted his voice in a light song to accompany the tinny music. Shimmer like ice upon frozen seas. Take my advice, accept this deep freeze. No worry of price For this cold breeze, I won't offer twice, so come with me, please. Miguela lifted one large foot closer to the bars. Josie kept watch, her curiosity reforming to wariness. There was something not right about this man. She knew Miguela. She knew mind reading when she witnessed it. And she knew even if this man was as dumb as an empty box, he was likely more cunning than her puffy purple pal. The stranger continued singing as the tiny dancer spun tirelessly. You want shaved ice, I'll give it with ease. It will feel nice, like snow below skis. One taste will suffice when you can squeeze through your locked vice your desire the keys. Why does the man tempt Miguela so intently? Wondered Josie. Why does he fight against Miguela's enclosure with such difficulty? Doesn't he understand the enchantment? Or perhaps he does, and in a blast of bouncing boysenberries, Josie burst into bigness. Stop! She leapt over a bramble bush and landed close to the man, close enough to smell the layers of ancient dirt embedded in his pores, but not close enough to spit at him. The man lowered his gaze to her. The fire subsided, evident only in his pupils as his corneas restyled into yellow circles. His voice was raspy, like sandpaper on dry wood. Fly away, little gnat. Josie ignored him and addressed the ape, who was now immediately in front of the bars. The music box stopped playing. Don't do it, Miguela! Don't go! He looked at her pleadingly, his eyes telling her, but Josie, shaved ice. That's right, big guy. I can give you all you can slurp. The whiteness of the man's teeth glistened in his grin. Miguela, listen to me. Don't go. You'll turn to dust, and you will be kept as a specimen in this stranger's lonely collection. Resist. The animal understood that his flighty friend was concerned, but he couldn't see why. This decent-looking man was simply offering him reprieve from the unquenchable thirst he had this hottest of days. No! Shouted Josie, seeing the choice being decided. Temptation was stronger than caring words, and could defeat any cage. The man stepped back as the gorilla stepped forward, and through the bars as if they were made of light and air. Quickly, the man pulled a long straw from his overalls. He lifted it to his lips and took a long draw. It was too late for Miguela. He could not retreat now. He was turned to dust, atom by atom, and sucked up. When Miguela was completely inhaled, the man tightened his lips and turned from Josie with merely a smirk. He rumbled away in a murky cloud. Try as she might, Josie could not catch up. Sticking 2 fingers into her mouth, she blew a piercing whistle that caused the curious sparrows to scatter. Promptly, her magic broom appeared at her side. With a practiced swoop of her leg, Josie pulled herself upon her steed and unhooked goggles from the saddlebag. With 2 kicks of her heels, she was off. Her hair whipped wildly. Super way to dry off, she exclaimed to the wind. No man of any magical sort was fast enough to outrace Josie on her broom. Quicker than a thunderclap, she was upon the ne'er-do-well. Zooming ahead like a bolt of broken lightning, she zigzagged and expertly tripped the man in his swirling mass. Oomph! He fell face first to the ground, with Josie hovering above him. That's right! Eat dirt! She dismounted, and her bare feet settled into the dustbin that surrounded the man. She grabbed her broom like a maid preparing to engage it in its intended use. The man blinked up at her, his hair sifting dust over his lashes. His mouth was firmly shut. Don't you bother getting up. I can clean up from here. She pushed the broom towards him so that the bristles tickled his nose. Twitching and sniffing, the nubby nose fought against irritation, but alas, straw is stronger than man's self-control. With a mighty sneeze, he expelled all of the dust that was Miguela. Rapidly, Josie swept up every last bit into a sackcloth. She tied it securely to her belt and mounted the broom again. "Don't rush to disappear before I return," Josie called over her shoulder. She left the ape napper gagging in dust clouds. Back at the enclosure, Josie shook out the cloth between the bars. Miguela's body reformed, bit by bit, until he was solidly complete once again. "Miguela," she chided, "you know better than to go off with strangers." She turned around slowly, satisfied that Miguela was safe. "I suppose all is well now. Another time we can play together in the jumping jungle." Miguela's embarrassment lifted. "I must be off to attend to that culprit, but first," she reached 2 hands behind her back. "Pick a hand." Miguela thoughtfully pressed a finger to his lips. Finally, he pointed to Josie's left side. "Correct as always. Ta-da! You won a prize." She reached her hand through the bars where Miguel was glowing bright purple in pure joy. He grasped the multicolored snow cone in his leathery palms. "Thank you," echoed through Josie's inner ears. "You are quite welcome. Enjoy. Have fun." Josie jaunted off to give the dusty imbecile a good talking to. And that's the end of chapter 1 of Weird. I hope you enjoyed that reading.
No, that was great. I really like the feel of your book. It's so upbeat and happy.
Thank you. It's weird but happy.
It is. I think though weird is what keeps the adventure off, gets it off to a good start, and then keeps it going, right?
Right. Thank you. I think so too. And so throughout the book, every chapter furthers the adventure and furthers this search for the Sandy Man, who is the enemy, and we get introduced to lots of other very weird characters in each chapter.
I like it. It's almost reminiscent of the Wizard of Oz, right? Just something very different in this whole realm every single time. So, out of curiosity,
yes,
how many pages is this book approximately? 98
pages.
So that's a pretty good fun read, right?
Well, it is. It's considered a novella. It could be read in one sitting, or you could read one chapter at a time very easily. Like that was a whole chapter. Some chapters are a little bit shorter. And so it's designed to be a fun read for adults and for younger adults and children. And
so this is also not the first steampunk thing you've written, right? The other one, the one with Subton, is also steampunk, right?
Yeah. So almost everything I've written, this is my 15th book, but all of these are steampunk. And I've also written 7 volumes of poetry. And those are actually all on sale this month because it's National Poetry Month. And so all of my poetry books on ebook are only 99 cents. And that's in honor of National Poetry Month. So
that is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And especially, like, everybody needs a little bit of poetry right now, I think. And some of my poetry is steampunk poetry. Others more personal or just interesting. And but I made them all 99 cents. And just for even people who aren't necessarily into poetry, it's a nice way to get a little taste of it just for the month.
I admire people that can write poetry. I recently read an old piece of poetry, and I was just like, oh, this is so amazing, right? I admire people that can write poetry, because my skill at poetry is basically like Dr. Seuss and limericks. That's what I can do.
That's a wonderful idea.
if those even count. Like, I love it. So I have a question about your steampunk world, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
So one of the things in my experience in both steampunk and sci-fi, and I know that this isn't sci-fi, but this kind of crosses the genres, right? Is that there are different levels of, I guess, detail and complication that go into the world building of whatever, wherever we are in the book, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you get like really hardcore sci-fi and steampunk, where all of the stuff is just super detailed and the mechanics are explained, and then you have a little more lighthearted where stuff just works, if you know what I mean, right?
Right.
So how would you describe your book in relation to that difficulty or grittiness, I guess, when it comes to the details, the super fine details?
So normally when I write steampunk, like my novels, and I'm writing book 3 of the trilogy now, and so when I write it, I need it for myself to have some fantasy feel to it, but I really feel the desire to have it be factual. So I incorporate as much real science and math into my work as possible. I've even gone so far as I spent 6 months with a group of laborers who did all different kinds of laboring jobs. So I could interview. They taught me how to use their tools. They showed me old-fashioned ways of how to use a plumb bomb. I learned so much. I learned so much from these gentlemen.
What is a plumb bomb?
Oh my gosh. It's not a bomb, it's not a plum. Neither. It's plumb bomb. Neither plum nor bomb. Discuss. So I learned a lot about how to use older tools, and I also am very lucky where I live. I have a lot of museums around. So I got to go to the Waltham Museum and learn actual history of Waltham, and I incorporate that into my books as well. For instance, kerosene was invented in Waltham, and that's a huge deal for steampunk. And so, I incorporated that knowledge into my books. Also, chalk was invented in Waltham. I know, right? Like, who would have thought? There's a pole called a Lally column, which holds up most of the basements around here. And that's invented in Waltham by Mr. Lally himself. And so it's like all these awesome steampunk things are right here. Also, the telephone museum, I had to figure out in Subton Switch, I needed to find a way to have my underwater explorers be able to communicate with each other. And this is before scuba gear was invented. So I had to also make up my own steampunk version of scuba gear, because scuba gear wasn't invented for like 50 years after my books take place. So not only did I have to invent my own scuba gear that could make sense and be maybe possible, I had to figure out a way to let my characters communicate to each other. So I had to go to the telephone museum, and I learned so much there. I even helped put a telephone together and rewire it. I know. I was like so proud of myself. and also we have the Charles River Museum of Industry and Innovation. And so I went, and they had they had different speakers come in, and one of them, they had a series called the Mill Talks. And I learned all about mills and how factories were run. And a big scene in my books is the Waltham watch factory. And so I got to go into the factory and see where the people actually worked and lived and the tools they used. It just gives reality to everything I write. However, that being said, this book, Weird, I took a lot of magical liberty. So we have talking camels. We have a flying carpet that doesn't fly from steam power. It's just a magical flying carpet. Josie's broom is steam power, so we do have some steampunk in there. But mostly fantasy, this particular book. But normally, like, for instance, in my book I'm writing now, Gust Over Glitch, it takes place that they're in a city that's hovering above the earth. So I had to figure out, right, and I had to figure out how to get my airship, which is such a trope. I had to figure out how to get my airship there to land. And so I had to invent a whole new airship that doesn't even exist in any steampunk technology that I've ever read before. So I had to, I had to read about tugboats. I had to read about steamboats. I had to read about dirigibles, anything that had to do with, you know, a blimp. Like
a blimp.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, the steampunks, we know they're dirigibles. So, but and I had to, and I'm actually still researching it. Even as I write, I find out, wait a minute, what's the correct term for this door that they open? Is it just an engine room, or is it called something else? And because I want to make it believable, even if there is a dragon in it, I still want it to be believable. And so that's the basis of my creation of most of my steampunk world, is that it has to be based with something real, and then I can add my steampunk magic to it.
So what was the first steampunk book you ever wrote, and why did you choose the genre of steampunk? What was your inspiration there?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I told you I've written a lot of poetry books, and I've written poetry for most of my life. And it turns out it's not very popular, and it doesn't sell a lot of books. And so, and also some of the most of the poetry I was writing was it was getting dark and really deep into my mental psyche, and it was getting a little depressing. And so I wanted
a little Sylvia Plath for you.
Yes, just like, it was like, and we know how poor Sylvia Plath ended, and I did not want to go that route. So I had to cheer myself up. So I was walking in Waltham one day, and I happened to be walking to Berlundi's, which is my favorite Italian restaurant in Waltham, and they're located in what used to be the watch factory. And I'm looking at it and thinking about how we have all this history around us. Wherever you live, there's so much history. Even if you live in a
I am experiencing a technical difficulty. You have frozen on me. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh dear. Okay. I don't know if that's just me or if it's everybody. Fooey, I shall ask, has she frozen on you folks out there watching at home, or is that just me? Because right now, still frozen. And I can't see what you guys can see exactly. So can somebody, oh, it looks like that was a freeze. Ah, oh no. Okay, I am sure that she will actually come back. Okay, she's frozen. Cool, thank you, Martin. I just would say while she, because I'm sure she's gonna come back here in a second, and and I'll pull her back in and she'll rejoin us. While she is out though, if you are out there watching at home, please, you can enter to win a copy of one of her books. I don't know which one it is gonna be yet, because she'll reveal that to us when she comes back. And but you can enter to win a copy of her book by putting enter and your name into the comments, and then I will add you. We're actually just going to draw live right here at the end of the show to see who the winner is. So please do that if you're interested in getting a copy. I know I'm pretty interested actually in the weird book, and I kind of want to read this up. I want to read everything is what it actually comes down to. I basically want, reading is like food, right? Like when I'm hungry, my eyes are bigger than the time I have allotted to read, right? So, oh, I see her. She is here in the backstage. Okay, going to pull you in. Here we go. Welcome back. I don't know what happened. Sometimes
but
it happens.
So
no, that's okay. I was just telling folks in the crowd, now is the time to get their name in. So for the drawing.
Well, that was a good opportunity. See, weird things happen.
Yes, and also, so you'll finish telling us here, you were talking about, I know weird things do happen. You'll finish talking about all of the cool, like how no matter how small the place is that you are, there's always some kind of cool history. That is kind of where I lost you. And but I would also say, if y'all have questions out there, please feel free to just type them there in the chat, and we will go ahead and pull them through. Oh no, please don't be frozen again. No.
We're a little frozen, but that's okay.
Okay. I hear you. Oh, there you are. Okay, you caught up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm allowing you to talk now because
thank you. So yes, so when I was walking by the watch factory, and I was just thinking about all the history we have around, and I was thinking, you know what? I was starting to wonder what it would be like to live in the watch factory, and what if it was modern day? What if it was running now? How would it be different, and how would it have been improved? And then I started thinking about what if it was steampunk, because Waltham is very lucky. We have the Watch City Steampunk Festival. It's unfortunately postponed this year until next year, but it's such a fun event. And it's basically the steampunks come and we take over the city. It's great. So my father says, that's when all the weirdos come out. And I'm like, yeah, that's me, Dad. Right here. So from there, I started to think about what would it be like to work in the watch factory, but also have it be steampunk. And what if like a totalitarian government came to town and tried to take over the workers' rights and tried to pollute the water, and like, so all these different things that are kind of, a lot of things that are happening now happened then. Like now we're having a disease go around. Back in the era that I write in, there was a bad flu going around, and there was a plague, and just now we have some upset in government. There was a similar upset in government then, and there was a lot of change and industrialization then, and now we have a lot of amazing breakthroughs in the medical fields and things like that. So there's a lot of parallels between the present and the past, and it shows through in my books without me even meaning to. Like I have had a few readers say, I got that, what you were saying about so-and-so in politics. And I'm like, no, I actually had no idea I was writing about that when I was writing it. It was before any of that happened. But I just am so inspired by history and by the people I talk to around me. And I was very lucky enough to have had grandparents who lived a long time and who actually lived during the Victorian era that I write in. And so
that's cool.
It's so cool because I remember them, and I remember like their wallpaper and like how it was still from the 1800s, you know, and how just some of their habits that they had were so old-fashioned but antiquated, but yet I can picture it all now. And I have some of their jewelry. Like I have an actual Waltham watch. Well, everybody in Waltham has at least one Waltham watch, and I wear another one around my neck. But
so can I ask a quick question about Watch City? You keep calling Waltham Watch City.
Yes.
And that's because the watch factory there.
Yes.
Is that so when I talk about the magical fairy realm and how it overlaps all of the mundane human realm, I refer to the cities with their official nicknames because so many cities have. So Chicago is the Windy City, New York is the Big Apple, Seattle's the Emerald City, right? All these cities have these nicknames. Is Watch City actually the official nickname of Waltham?
Watch City is actually the nickname of Waltham. Even on the official website for the city, it says the Watch City, which is really neat. And we have another city close by called Ashland, which is the Clock City. So,
oh, cool.
I know, so that's going to go into my next book. But yeah, so it's actually, so the Watch City, I'm writing the Watch City trilogy. So that's like what you'd consider a fairy realm. But there's also the Watch City of Waltham, which is a human reality. So they intersect a lot.
Of course.
Yeah.
All of the things overlap and intersect. The intersections are places that I find most interesting.
Me too. And the people you meet there too.
So we do have a question from the audience, which is, do your stories come to you as a whole or in pieces?
That's a really, really good question. Usually they come to me in pieces. Like I might have a big general idea, but then I'll get a different idea that goes with it. For instance,
so they build kind of.
Yes. So even when I write, I don't write in order. Like I'll write my story in a general story, and then I'll go back and write different scenes that I know are going to be important to the story, but I just don't know when they're going to happen yet. And so then I print it all out. At first I write it by hand. Then I put it in my computer.
Oh, wow.
Then I print it out. Then I cut it out and I repaste everything and I put things in binders and put them all over my floor and rearrange all the pieces of where should go where, and I highlight stuff. And then I have this huge mess. And then I go back and resort it on my printer again. And then eventually it turns into a beginning, middle, and end. But so I usually get ideas in bursts. Like I have to have paper in every room of my house. I have paper and pen in all my pockets, every pocketbook, like because it's going to happen. I have to keep post-it notes in the bathroom for when I take a shower because I'm always getting dripping wet and have to go and write an idea that, oh, I'm shampooing my hair and I get this idea of what's going to happen in this whole dialogue. And so then the water's going cold and I'm halfway in the shower and halfway out writing this dialogue. I'm like, oh, but I have to write it so I don't forget it. Because I know the times I say, oh, this is so perfect for this scene. There's no way I'm going to forget it. As soon as I dry off, I'm like, I washed the idea away. It's gone forever. So when I get ideas, I have to write them down. And there was a couple of times I got ideas in dreams, which was really cool. Because I thought I was done with the particular chapter, and then I had a dream about it, and I woke up and I wrote right away. I'm like, this just made the whole entire chapter something more than I had ever imagined. And it was because of my dream. So I didn't technically think of it. The dreamland did. So that was a really neat experience. So to answer the question, I might get a big general idea like, oh, I want to write about what happens in the watch factory in a steampunk world. And what if this? But all the little things that go along with it to make the story and to make the characters alive come to me at different times.
They sort of flesh themselves out as you go along.
Exactly.
I like your method of writing things. I dabble a little bit in writing things, and I am never organized about it. Okay, that's not entirely true. I just I tend to do the same thing though, where except not by hand. I'm super impressed by that.
Well, sometimes I find that writing with my hand, the ideas come smoother. I don't know if it's a mindfulness thing or what, but my ideas flow better rather than if I'm typing. I don't know why, but I always make a huge outline and I try to write by the outline and I try to follow the outline, but then I usually wind up doing like 3 or 4 outlines before I'm done with the actual book.
That what you said there about the ideas flowing better when you write them, it's pinging a memory in my head. Years ago, do you know who author Ari Burke is?
I know that sounds familiar.
Okay, anyway, an author, and I saw him at a panel at a convention, and I seem to recall him saying something about when you're writing with your hand, that sometimes this method works better for people because what it forces you to do is it forces your brain to specifically focus on the thing that you are looking at and doing right then and there. Whereas if you're in front of a computer and you have the ability to type super fast, right, then kind of sometimes the thoughts will become this, they clog up the funnel of trying to get out, and then just stuff is chaotic and crazy. So I find that cool and fascinating that, I mean, that you have the kind of the same experience as to what he was alluding to, right?
Yes, I relate to that completely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have another question for you, and if I can, because we're at a minute and 47 technically, but so we only have less than 10 minutes left. But
Okay.
so do you keep things around your house that you use to overcome writer's block, and if so, what are they?
So yes, I do. I have a few things. One is a very special pen that my friend Douglas gave me. It's an old-fashioned fountain pen, and I know, and I love writing with it. And so whenever I have something very special to write, I'll write it with the pen. Or if I feel like I'm getting an idea but it's not quite there, I'll take the pen. It's like a magic pen almost, and putting it in the ink, just the movement and the physicality and the tactile activity of doing that spurs something in me. And then I get my fingers have a little bit of ink on them and I don't care. And then I might just like write down a few words and sometimes it turns into something, but it's just so fun to write with that once I get the pen out, I can't help but write at least something. So a lot of times I'll write just a little haiku just for myself. And once I see the words there printed in pretty cursive, it inspires me just to keep on going, write a little bit more of something. And so yeah, so that's something that keeps me from getting writer's block, definitely.
I like that. You're a woman after my own heart. I have so many fountain pens and glass fountain pens and all the things. And I don't write drafts by hand personally, but I do write other things by hand. And I like to practice calligraphy. And
nice.
So, yeah, I don't know. I like the way that they make the scratching sounds on the paper.
I love that too.
So, okay, so you today, so for our patrons out there, you have sent us, Jessica, I haven't published them yet, but I do have them and I will be publishing them after the show for our patrons only. You've sent actually some photographs of your handwriting of one of the poems that you've written, as well as a text copy.
Right here.
Yes, it looked so beautiful when I looked at it. It was all handwritten and pretty, and I was like, oh, and you have the picture of the pen with the little ink pot there, and I thought, oh, that's quite nice. And so I'm excited to share those with all of our patrons on Patreon, exclusive just for you guys, plus your poem that you wrote since it's National Poetry Month. So
yes,
in
and
theme
the,
for
and this
that.
poem is not published anywhere else. Your patrons will be the only ones who read it. This is it. It's not
And it's
published anywhere else.
It's related to today's reading too. The
It
book
is.
Weird, correct?
It's related
Yes.
to Weird. It's about the character, and so
Yes.
it has to do with
I
the reading I did today.
That is excellent. Yeah, I took a second to read it before the show today. So, and if I don't stop talking, I'll probably give things away. So all I can say is it's going to be there, and it's a special surprise for you guys. And then also, so our last thing to do is the drawing for one of your books. And I don't know which book you want to give away, so I would
like to give away a copy of Weird.
Okay.
It'll probably be the first one printed, and all my books are printed in the United States. And there are multiple ways to order my books. You can order them directly from Amazon through my Amazon page. That's where all my books are, my poetry, my steampunk, everything. Weird is on there. I also have a website that you can order all my steampunk stuff from. Now, Amazon is a little bit slow right now with getting things sent out.
A bit slow.
But I will do my best to get this signed copy of Weird as fast as possible, as quickly as possible, to whomever wins it. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And so there are links to your store, to your Facebook, your Instagram, all of that for you guys. Not only is it going in the ticker bar below, it is also in the low bar on YouTube and in the descriptions on Facebook. If you're watching from either one of those locations, you should be able to just expand and find the details to go and shop Jessica's books. Please do. And let's see. I will say one more time, get one more chance. Where's my, oh no. I have a timer that I try to keep here on the table with me, but every time I need it, it's my little timer when I say, okay, you guys have this much time. I start my sand timer to say, put your name and the word enter into the comments if you would like to be entered to win a copy of Weird, a signed copy. And in fact, perhaps even the very first printed copy signed by the author herself.
Very well could be. And I want
right?
to say one more thing. I talking about my inspiration. I know you have 5 cats, Fairy Princess Lolly.
I do.
Well, I have a little bird. I have my little Blue, my little Lamar. And Lamar likes to go on my head a lot of times. So there she is. And so other authors have cats and writers have cats. And I really wanted a cat very badly to be my writing buddy, but I'm highly allergic. And so I know, I'm so sad. And so, but I have Lamar, and she is my best writing buddy ever. And she sings to me, and she's just great.
Well, she's been singing this whole time off to the side.
Have you heard her now and again?
Yes. Yes. So that is super cute. You know, and I know I just love the fact that she's on your head like that. We have another viewer out there who also has a parakeet, and it's green. And I have seen a picture on their Instagram of the bird on their head.
I'm her favorite perch. It's a great view from up there.
Oh, I love her. She's adorable.
Thank you.
How did Lamar get her name?
Thank you for asking. So she's named after one of my favorite scientists, Hedy Lamarr. And Hedy Lamarr was a model during World War II era, and she was an actress, but she was also a brilliant scientist. She invented spread technology, which is what we use on our Bluetooth technology right now. So she invented Bluetooth, yes, back in World War II era. And I just love her. So that's why Lamar is beautiful and smart. So she takes after her namesake quite well.
That is excellent. Okay. that was the last chance. I am now going to go ahead. I have all the names inputted into our wheel. Yes, I have an online wheel that's my random name picker. So everybody who is a Patreon patron gets an automatic entry into all drawings that we do. And then while you were reading, actually, I had a bunch of entries from the audience. So I will now go ahead and screen share here. Let's get this up. Okay.
So exciting. Who's going to win?
Everyone. I know. Oh no! It has taken 50 random entries each time you remove one from the wheel. Another. Oh, okay. That should be fine. And go.
This is so exciting.
I love spinning this wheel, I confess. Oh. Whoa. Oh no, what are you doing? Go away, thing. I probably should just buy a subscription to this thing because I use it all the time. So, oh, I think Holly has it. Holly Hensley, congratulations.
Congratulations, Holly.
Yes, you are the winner. So we will have to, please, you can email me or contact Jessica on her page or contact Faye Productions on Facebook. My email is princesslolly@fayeproductions.com. I don't think I have a way to contact you other than through our Facebook pages or Jessica's Facebook pages. So, but you are the winner and congratulations to you. Please reach out so that we can get you your prize. So that brings us to 1:57. Wow, we filled up that hour, huh?
We sure did. That was a lot of fun. It went
All
by
right.
fast.
I know it did go by pretty fast. So thank you so much for joining us, and everybody, please, yes, like and subscribe. Go to find Jessica on Facebook and on Instagram, also on Twitter. Give her the follows on whatever platform is your most favorite one to be on and frequent. And then also check out her work. It's on Amazon. We have all the links, the websites, and everything is in the low bar. And then you can also get exclusive access to one of her poems that is related to her brand new book, Weird, on our Patreon for patrons only. And that's patreon.com/Faye Productions. Links to that, yes, also in the low bar. Everything is in the description. All the deets.
All the deets.
I'm so modern. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessica. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
I had a blast. Thank you. And may your clocks always chime.
Yes. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.